My friends, one of the great illusions of our time is the belief that our emotions must always dictate our actions. We are told constantly, follow your feelings, be true to how you feel in the moment, don't do anything unless you feel like it. But when you pause to reflect, you see how dangerous this advice really is. Every significant achievement, whether in faith, family, art, science, or service, has required men and women who placed their mission before their mood. Imagine if great saints, leaders, or pioneers had only acted when they felt comfortable or motivated. We would have no cathedrals, no discoveries, no acts of heroic love. The truth is that moods are fickle. They rise and fall like the weather. One day you feel inspired, the next day you feel drained. If your life is governed by that instability, your mission will never take root. But when you place the mission, your calling, your vocation, the work you are meant to accomplish, at the center, then moods become secondary. You can carry on with clarity and purpose, even when the emotional weather is cloudy. This is not about suppressing emotions. It is about ordering them. Your feelings are real, but they are not your compass, the mission is. And paradoxically, when you live with this discipline, you discover a deeper joy than fleeting moods could ever give. Joy is not the same as mood. Joy is the fruit of fidelity to your mission, the peace that comes when you know you are living for something greater than yourself. So, my friends, let us not be slaves to our moods. Let us put our shoulders to the wheel, keep our eyes fixed on the mission entrusted to us, and we will find in the end that our lives bear the fruit they were always meant to bear. Moods are fleeting, the mission is permanent. Think of how quickly our emotions change. One moment we are full of energy, ready to take on the world. The next moment, a small disappointment, a word spoken out of place, a sudden inconvenience, and our mood collapses. If we were to base our lives on that shifting ground, nothing steady would ever be built. How many times have we said, "I don't feel like it today," and then abandoned a task we know to be important? How many promises have been broken, not because the mission was unclear, but because the mood was unfavorable? My friends, moods are like weather. They move in and out, often without warning, sometimes bright and warm, other times heavy and gray. But you cannot build a house on the weather. You must build on rock. The mission is that rock. The mission is the thing entrusted to you. Your calling, your purpose, the work that God has placed before you. Unlike mood, the mission does not change with the wind. It is steady, permanent, waiting for you to step into it, whether the sky above is clear or stormy. When you put mission before mood, you choose constancy over chaos. You decide that your life will not be dictated by feelings that evaporate like mist in the morning sun. You decide instead to order your feelings, to discipline them, and to give them their proper place. Consider the great builders of civilization, the saints, the thinkers, the explorers, the artists. Do you think they always felt like rising early, working through the night, bearing ridicule, or persevering through failure? Of course not. If they had waited for the right mood, we would have no cathedrals, no symphonies, no inventions, no heroic examples of love. What sustained them was not mood, but mission. Mission gives a horizon to the soul. It directs you outward, beyond the ups and downs of the moment, towards something higher and lasting. It grounds your life in meaning that endures even when your feelings betray you. Yes, moods can inspire. There are days when energy flows, when motivation feels natural, when everything seems possible. Those days are a gift, but they are not enough, because there are also days when you wake heavy, when motivation is absent, when joy feels distant. And yet, even on those days, the mission remains. The parent still has the mission to care for the child. The teacher still has the mission to form young minds. The leader still has the mission to guide with integrity. The disciple still has the mission to live in faithfulness. Moods may whisper excuses, but the mission speaks with clarity. Carry on, and here is the paradox. When you act for the mission, even against the grain of your mood, a deeper joy arises. Not the fragile happiness of a fleeting feeling, but the steady peace that comes from knowing you are doing what you were made to do. You discover that joy is not mood. Joy is the fruit of fidelity. Joy is the quiet strength of a life lived on purpose. This is why moods are fleeting, but the mission is permanent. Because moods pass away, but mission endures. Because moods serve the self, but mission serves the good. Because moods change with the hour, but mission stretches across a lifetime. Living by moods creates instability. Living by mission creates focus. A life led by moods is like a boat without an anchor, tossed and turned by every shifting current. One day you move in one direction, the next you drift somewhere else, because your mood told you to go there. There is no stability, no rhythm, no steady hand guiding the journey. When we live this way, we find ourselves scattered, restless, always starting, but rarely finishing. The person who relies only on moods will always wait for the perfect moment, the perfect feeling before acting, but the perfect moment never fully arrives, and the feeling never fully lasts. So life becomes a string of abandoned projects, broken promises, and unrealized dreams. This instability drains the soul, because deep down we were not created for drifting. We were created for purpose, and purpose comes not from moods, but from mission. When you live by mission, there is focus. Mission acts like a compass, pointing you toward the true north of your calling. It doesn't matter if the winds shift or the skies grow dark. The compass still points in the same direction. Mission gives clarity when emotions bring confusion. It tells you this is what matters, this is where to go. Living by mission gathers the scattered energies of your life and directs them with intention. You begin to see that not every opportunity deserves your attention, not every distraction deserves your time. Instead of being pulled in 100 directions, your heart and mind align with one purpose. Think of an athlete in training. If he trains only when he feels like it, he will never reach his potential. But when he submits to the mission, when he disciplines his body and mind daily, he becomes focused, sharp, ready for the contest. Or think of a parent. Children do not wait for your best moods to need food, comfort, or guidance. The parent who acts out of mission rather than mood provides stability for the home. That steadiness forms children into people who themselves can live with focus. Mission, then, creates a ripple effect. When you live with focus, others around you are steadied as well. They find confidence in your reliability, strength in your constancy. But when you live from mood, others are made anxious by your instability. They cannot rely on someone who is governed by fleeting feelings. Mission, centered living produces trust. Mood, centered living produces doubt. And here lies the real secret. Living by mission doesn't mean moods vanish. You will still feel highs and lows, joys and sorrows, enthusiasm and fatigue, but those moods no longer sit in the driver's seat. They become passengers, while the mission takes the wheel, and over time, as you practice fidelity to mission, even your moods begin to settle. They find harmony under the rhythm of your purpose. Instead of being tossed by every wave, you discover a calm at the center of your life, a peace that comes not from perfect feelings, but from focused living. Living by moods creates instability. Living by mission creates focus. Because moods scatter, but mission gathers. Moods confuse, but mission clarifies. Moods exhaust, but mission strengthens. Every great achievement in history came from those who prioritized duty over emotion. If humanity had waited for the right mood to act, the great works of civilization would never have been born. The explorers who set out across uncharted seas did not always feel brave. They faced storms, sickness, and loneliness, but they sailed on because the duty to discover outweighed the fear in their hearts. The scientists who unlocked the mysteries of the universe did not always feel inspired. There were long nights of failure, months and years of experiments that seemed to lead nowhere. Yet they persisted, because their duty to truth was stronger than the discouragement of the moment. The builders of cathedrals, those towering monuments of faith and beauty, labored for generations. Do you think they woke each morning eager to lift stones, cut timber, and endure back-breaking work? No, but they believed in something greater. Their duty to leave behind a house of worship for generations to come gave them the strength to press on, even when the work felt endless. Even in the realm of moral greatness, this pattern holds true. Think of those who fought against injustice. They did not wait until they felt safe, until they felt motivated, until they felt certain of victory. They acted because duty demanded it. They stood, they spoke, they suffered, because their mission was clear, even when their moods rebelled. Duty is the anchor that holds steady when emotion falters. Duty is the light that guides when feelings grow dark. Without duty, the world would be ruled by whim and impulse, and nothing lasting would ever endure. But when duty takes precedence, humanity rises above the fragile limits of emotion. Every great artist knows this. The masterpiece is not born in a single moment of inspiration. It is born in hours of practice, in days of labor, in years of showing up even when the heart feels dry. The emotion may spark the first idea, but duty carries it to completion. Every soldier understands this. On the battlefield, fear is real, exhaustion is crushing, but the duty to protect, to defend, to serve, that duty overrides the mood of the moment. And history remembers not their passing emotions, but their unwavering fidelity. Duty transforms weakness into strength because it draws the person beyond self-interest. Emotion says, do what feels good now. Duty says, do what is right, no matter what it costs. And in that choice lies greatness. The saints, the martyrs, the heroes of virtue, they would not have changed the world if they had waited for the right feeling. They chose to act out of fidelity, even when emotion cried out for comfort, ease, or escape. And their fidelity gave rise to beauty, to truth, to justice, to hope. Every great achievement in history, whether in art or science, in faith or in society, is a testimony to this truth. The human heart rises to its highest when it places duty above emotion. When you live this way, your life begins to participate in that same story. Feelings are real but not reliable guides. The mission is the true compass. Our emotions are part of us, and they cannot be denied. They rise up suddenly, sometimes like a gentle breeze and sometimes like a raging storm. They are not illusions and they are not meaningless, but while they are real, they are not always trustworthy. Feelings can mislead. They can make us see threats where there are none, or comforts where there is danger. They can magnify small problems into insurmountable obstacles, or reduce great responsibilities to something we think we can ignore. If you live by feelings alone, your life will constantly shift directions. One day you will be pulled toward this, the next day toward that. The compass needle will spin without settling, and you will find yourself lost. Think of a traveler wandering in the desert. The sun rises, the air grows hot, and thirst sets in. Suddenly, in the distance, he sees what appears to be water. His feelings cry out, run to it, it is what you need, but the reality is a mirage. Feelings are like that sometimes. They point to what seems true in the moment, but they do not always align with what is actually real. That is why we need a compass. The mission is that compass. The mission does not lie. It does not waver with moods, nor change with circumstances. It points steadily to the path you are meant to walk, whether your feelings agree or not. When you live by mission, you have something firm to hold to when emotions push you off course. Consider the soldier in the field. His feelings may tell him to run when the danger grows, but the mission reminds him why he is there. Or think of a teacher. There are days when she feels drained, discouraged, perhaps even tempted to quit. But the mission to shape young lives steadies her hand and keeps her at her post. Feelings whisper constantly, do what is easiest, do what is comfortable, do what feels good right now. But the mission answers with a louder voice, do what is right, do what is needed, do what you are called to do. Feelings look inward, mission looks outward and upward. Feelings change with the hour. Mission holds steady for a lifetime, and here is the irony. When you choose to follow mission over mood, feelings eventually find their proper place. They are not destroyed, they are purified. You discover a deeper peace than fleeting moods can give. You discover a joy that is not dependent on circumstances. It is the joy of alignment, the joy of living according to your compass. That is why feelings, though real, cannot be the guide. They must be ordered under the mission. Otherwise, they become like waves tossing a ship, pushing it off course again and again. But with mission as the compass, the ship moves forward. It may be battered by winds and shaken by storms, but it continues in the right direction. Because the compass does not lie, the compass always points to true north, and in the same way, the mission always points you toward what truly matters. Sacrifice and perseverance often feel unpleasant in the moment, but yield lasting fruit. There is nothing easy about sacrifice. It goes against our instincts. It asks us to give up comfort, to surrender control, to let go of something we want in exchange for something greater, and perseverance demands even more. It requires us to keep going when our strength is gone, to remain steady when everything within us cries out for relief. In the moment, both sacrifice and perseverance feel like burdens. They sting, they tire, they stretch us beyond what we thought we could endure. Yet, strangely, it is in those very moments of discomfort that the seeds of greatness are planted. The harvest does not come right away. Sacrifice rarely gives an immediate reward. Perseverance almost never feels satisfying as it is happening. But over time, what once felt bitter begins to bear fruit that is sweet and lasting. Think of the farmer in the field. He rises early to plow the soil, to plant the seeds, to tend the crops. The work is hard, the sun is hot, his body aches. Day after day, he labors with little to show for it, but he trusts the process, he perseveres through the toil, and then, in due season, the harvest comes. The fruit of his sacrifice feeds his family and blesses his community. The pain of the labor is forgotten in the abundance of the reward. Think also of the athlete. Training is not glamorous. It is repetition, exhaustion, sweat, and strain. There are days when the body rebels and the mind longs to quit. But the athlete pushes forward, persevering through the hardship. And when the race is run or the contest is won, the joy is not only in the victory, but in the knowledge that the fruit was earned through sacrifice. The same is true in the life of the Spirit. Prayer can feel dry, discipline can feel heavy, service can feel thankless, but those who persevere in faith discover a joy deeper than emotion. They find peace in knowing their lives are anchored in something eternal. Sacrifice and perseverance are never wasted. They shape the soul, they form character, they stretch us beyond selfishness and draw us into greatness. Yes, in the moment they hurt, in the moment they feel unpleasant. But like a seed pressed into the earth, they carry within them the promise of life. Without sacrifice, there is no love. Without perseverance, there is no growth. Everything noble, everything lasting, everything worthy of remembrance is born of these two. When you look back on your life, it will not be the easy moments that shaped you most. It will be the times you sacrificed for what mattered. It will be the times you persevered when you could have given up. And you will see that the fruit of those choices is still feeding you long after the struggle has passed. Sacrifice and perseverance are the labor of today, but they are also the harvest of tomorrow. Freedom comes not from indulging moods, but from ordering them under a higher purpose. Our culture often tells us the opposite. It whispers that freedom means doing whatever you feel like, whenever you feel like it. It says that the path to happiness is to follow every impulse, to satisfy every craving, to indulge every mood. At first, that sounds attractive. It sounds like liberty, but in truth, it is not freedom at all. It is slavery to the most unstable part of ourselves, for moods are restless masters. They demand constant attention, constant feeding, constant satisfaction. And when we give them everything they want, they do not quiet down. They grow louder, more insistent, more consuming. A person who lives by moods eventually finds themselves chained, not liberated. They are carried along by every passing desire, tossed about by every passing feeling. One day they run after pleasure, the next after comfort, the next after distraction, but never do they find rest. Real freedom is not the absence of restraint. Real freedom is the ability to live according to what is true and good. It is the capacity to direct your life toward purpose rather than impulse, and that only happens when moods are ordered. Ordering moods does not mean denying them or pretending they do not exist. It means placing them under the guidance of something greater. It means letting purpose, not passion, be the ruler. Think of a musician. If he plays only according to how he feels, striking random notes whenever the mood strikes, the result is noise. But when he orders his passion for music under the discipline of practice, the result is beauty. The same is true of freedom. Left unchecked, moods create chaos. Disciplined and ordered under a higher purpose, they can create harmony. A soldier who gives in to fear will abandon his post, but a soldier who orders his fear under duty becomes courageous. A student who follows only the mood to play will never learn, but a student who orders recreation under the higher goal of education becomes wise. In each case, freedom is not found in indulgence but in direction. The person who indulges every mood is pulled apart. The person who orders moods under a higher purpose is gathered together, whole and steady. And here lies the paradox. When you order moods under purpose, they eventually become stronger, more alive, more meaningful. Joy is deeper because it flows from sacrifice. Love is richer because it endures trials. Peace is truer because it does not depend on circumstance. Freedom, then, is not doing what you feel. Freedom is having the strength to do what you are called to do, even when moods resist. And that kind of freedom is unshakable because it is anchored in something higher than emotion. It is anchored in truth. It is anchored in mission. It is anchored in purpose that lasts when moods fade away. Mission gives meaning to suffering while mood resists it. Every one of us knows what it means to suffer. It may come through physical pain, through loss, through disappointment, or through betrayal. It may arrive suddenly, like a storm that breaks without warning, or it may settle slowly, like a heavy fog that refuses to lift. And when suffering comes, our first instinct, our mood, is to resist. We recoil, we push it away, we say, "Not this, not now, not me." The mood cries out for comfort, for escape, for anything to make the pain stop. But suffering rarely obeys our moods. It lingers, it tests us, and if all we have is mood, then suffering becomes unbearable. It feels pointless, cruel, and empty. But when there is mission, everything changes. Mission does not erase suffering, but it gives it meaning. It takes what seems meaningless and weaves it into a larger story. When you suffer for a mission, the pain becomes purposeful. It is no longer wasted. Think of a mother who endures sleepless nights for her child. Her body aches, her strength is drained, her mood cries out for rest. Yet she endures, because her mission to nurture life gives those sleepless nights meaning. What could feel like torment becomes a sacrifice of love. Think of the athlete who pushes through grueling training. His muscles burn, his lungs ache, his mood says, "Stop, this hurts too much." But he keeps going because the mission of victory transforms that pain into preparation. Without mission, he would quit. With mission, he perseveres, or consider those who have stood against injustice. Their mood would have told them to stay silent, to remain safe, to avoid conflict. but their mission to stand for truth, to defend the oppressed, gave meaning to their suffering. The arrests, the ridicule, the hardships became part of a greater story of justice. This is why mission is so vital. It does not take away the cross, but it makes the cross worth carrying. Mood says suffering is useless. Mission says suffering can bear fruit. Mood says suffering destroys. Mission says suffering can redeem. Without mission, suffering isolates and crushes. With mission, suffering becomes a path to growth, a participation in something larger than ourselves. Even in the life of faith, this truth shines. When trials come, moods fluctuate, sometimes anger, sometimes despair, sometimes numbness. But the mission to remain faithful transforms trials into testimony. It gives courage to endure, and even in tears, it plants seeds of hope. Mission teaches us that suffering, though painful, is not the final word. It is not wasted, not meaningless, not random. It can be offered, transformed, and woven into a greater purpose. And that truth is what allows us to carry on when moods would have us collapse, because moods resist suffering, but mission redeems it. Lasting joy is discovered in fidelity to mission, not in chasing feelings. Feelings are fleeting by nature. They rise like sparks in the night sky, bright for a moment, then quickly gone. They can give us a temporary lift, but they cannot sustain us. How many people spend their lives chasing after the next feeling, always searching for excitement, for pleasure, for emotional highs, and yet, after the thrill fades, they find themselves restless again, unsatisfied, longing for something deeper. The heart was not made to be fed by feelings alone. The heart was made for fidelity, for staying true to a mission that outlasts the whims of emotion. Joy comes not when you finally catch the feeling you have been chasing, but when you look back and realize you have lived faithfully, consistently, purposefully. The joy that endures is born from commitment. Think of a musician who remains faithful to practice for years. The daily work is often dull. The moods that accompany it are unpredictable. But because of fidelity to the mission, he one day plays with beauty that stirs the soul. That beauty brings a joy no fleeting mood could ever provide. Think of a marriage. The glow of early romance may fade, and moods shift with the seasons of life. But when husband and wife remain faithful to their vows, their love matures into something stronger, deeper, more enduring. The joy of fidelity outshines the temporary thrill of emotion. Or think of the worker who commits himself to his craft, day after day, year after year. He does not always feel inspired. Sometimes he is weary, sometimes unmotivated. But in staying true to his mission, he builds something lasting. And when he looks back, the joy he feels is not from the moods he once chased, but from the work he has faithfully completed. Chasing feelings is like chasing the wind. You run, but you never catch it. You grasp, but it slips through your fingers. Fidelity, on the other hand, roots you in what matters. It holds you steady when moods fluctuate. It gives your life shape, direction, and weight. And from that fidelity, joy slowly blossoms. It is not loud, not fleeting, not fragile. It is steady, resilient, and enduring. This joy is not dependent on circumstances. It does not vanish when the day grows dark. It stays because it is built on the foundation of purpose, not on the shifting sands of emotion. Joy born of mission is joy that lasts. It is the joy of a parent who sees a child grow strong because of years of sacrifice. It is the joy of a teacher who sees a student flourish after long hours of patient guidance. It is the joy of the faithful soul who, even through trials, can say, "I have lived for what is true. I have stayed the course. Feelings will come and go. They are the waves upon the surface of the sea. But fidelity to mission is the deep current beneath, carrying us forward, steady and sure. And it is in that steady current that lasting joy is found. Putting mission before mood forms character and virtue. Character is not built in moments of ease or in hours of comfort. It is forged when a person chooses to remain faithful to what is right even when the mood pulls them elsewhere. Mood says, I do not feel like it today. Mood says, I want the easy road. Mood says, I deserve to stop, to give up, to indulge. But when you choose the mission instead, when you act out of conviction rather than convenience, something within you is strengthened. That choice, repeated again and again, forms the structure of your soul. It is like lifting weights. Every repetition seems small, but over time the strength grows. So it is with the inner life. Every time you put mission before mood, you build endurance, you deepen resolve, you shape character. Virtue is not formed in a single day. It is the result of many hidden victories over mood. Patience comes from staying calm when mood would erupt in anger. Courage grows when you act despite fear. Discipline is formed when you remain steady in duty, though your mood longs for distraction. Each time you make that choice, you carve virtue into the core of who you are. Think of a student preparing for exams. The mood tempts them to play, to delay, to put off the work. But if they place mission before mood, they learn diligence. They discover that effort brings growth, and growth strengthens character. Or think of a soldier on the battlefield. His mood may be terror, his whole body longing to flee, but he places mission first, and in that act courage is born. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the victory of duty over mood. Or consider the parent who wakes in the middle of the night to care for a crying child. The mood is exhaustion, the desire to remain in bed. But the mission of love takes precedence, and in that act of fidelity, selflessness is formed. Character is the sum of such choices. It is not built by moods, but by mastering them. Virtue is the fruit of mission placed again and again above fleeting feelings. And here is the paradox. The more you choose mission, the freer you become. The moods that once ruled you lose their power. They no longer dictate your actions. You gain mastery over yourself, and in that mastery lies true strength. The person who always obeys moods remains a child, tossed around by impulses. The person who lives by mission grows into maturity, into depth, into virtue. And virtue, unlike mood, endures. It carries you when storms arise. It steadies you when temptation calls. It strengthens you when the path grows long. Putting mission before mood is not just about getting tasks done. It is about forming a soul capable of greatness. It is about shaping a life that others can trust, a life that can bear weight, a life that reflects integrity. For moods pass quickly, but the character formed by fidelity remains. A mission-centered life inspires others, while a mood-centered life collapses inward. When you live only by your moods, your gaze turns inward. You become absorbed in how you feel at any given moment. Am I comfortable? Am I satisfied? Am I in the right mood to act? That inward focus begins to shrink your world. Your life becomes about protecting your feelings, avoiding discomfort, and chasing fleeting pleasures. And when life turns inward like that, it inevitably collapses. It becomes small, fragile, and self-absorbed. Others cannot lean on you because moods change too quickly. They cannot look to you for guidance because your direction shifts with your emotions. A mood-centered life may feel good for a moment, but it has no lasting strength. A mission-centered life, on the other hand, lifts the eyes outward. It looks beyond moods and asks, what is my purpose? What is the work entrusted to me? What is the good I can offer? And that posture is powerful because it does not collapse inward. It radiates outward. It inspires others because it shows constancy where moods would have given up. It reveals a depth of commitment that stirs the hearts of those who witness it. Think of a teacher who shows up for her students day after day. Her moods may rise and fall, but her mission to teach remains steady. The students are inspired not only by her words but by her fidelity. Or think of a leader in times of crisis. If he is ruled by moods, fear will paralyze him and his people will scatter. But if he remains mission-centered, his courage steadies others. They draw strength from his constancy, even when circumstances are dark. Mission-centered lives create ripples that spread far beyond the individual. A parent who lives with mission forms children who know what commitment looks like. A servant who lives with mission encourages a community to rise higher. A disciple who lives with mission strengthens the faith of those around them. These lives inspire because they are not consumed with self. They point beyond themselves to something greater, something lasting. Mood-centered lives, in contrast, are consumed with the self. They fold inward, weighed down by their own instability. They cannot inspire because they are trapped in their own emotional weather, but mission-centered lives break free of that trap. They shine like beacons, calling others to rise above moods and live with purpose. And inspiration is born not from perfection, but from perseverance. When people see someone stay true to their mission through hardship, sacrifice, and trial, they are moved. They begin to believe they too can remain faithful. That is the gift of a mission-centered life. It multiplies courage, it awakens hope, it builds a legacy that extends far beyond the span of one life. While a mood-centered life collapses inward, a mission-centered life expands outward, touching hearts, strengthening others, and leaving behind a trail of inspiration. Here is a suitable ending that gathers together all the reflections and leaves the audience with a call to action, written in the same cadence and tone as the rest of the speech. My friends, moods will rise and fall like the tides. They will whisper comfort one day and despair the next. If we build our lives upon them, we will be tossed about without direction, without stability, without purpose. But if we anchor ourselves in mission, if we place before us the higher calling that gives shape and meaning to our days, then we will stand firm. We will endure hardship with courage. We will embrace sacrifice with love. We will find joy not in chasing feelings, but in fidelity to purpose. And most of all, our lives will not collapse inward, but will radiate outward, inspiring others, strengthening them, and drawing them toward the same horizon of hope. So let us rise each day not asking, how do I feel? But rather, what is my mission today? Let us place the mission before the mood, the eternal before the passing, the true before the comfortable. And if we do, we will discover the freedom, the character, and the joy that only a mission-centered life can give.